Okay, now that I'm live, I'm going to share this on my personal page so that more of you can join me. Just give me 1 second here. All right. Gonna share this. All right. Okay. So, first off, this is the first time I've ever gone live on Facebook by myself. So, I want to say hi to all you guys. I hope everyone's out there doing well. I know that, times are weird, to be downright honest about it. This is an abnormal situation that we all kind of find ourselves in, being stuck at home for so much time. Most of us anyway, for some of us, some of you out there are going out there and have been doing a lot of work that's considered essential. And if you're one of those people, I just want to say thanks for doing what you do. Most of what you do goes underappreciated most of the time. No doubt about that. So just want to say thank you to all you guys. If you work in any kind of healthcare industry, or even just basic stuff like, the grocery store, or you work at Menards or something like that. It's a little bit riskier nowadays to be doing stuff like that. And so I just want to say thanks for being there. And for all of you who find yourselves out of work, I was kind of in that camp for a little bit myself. Let's stay strong. Let's just hang in there. We are gonna get through this. And I know it feels probably unfair for a lot of us, and I get that. But we can't control what happens to us. We can only control how we react to it and what we do in response to it. So see that Ryan Bratcher just joined. Hey Ryan, haven't talked in a long time, man. Happy to have you with us. So basically, what I want to talk about, I just kind of want to just talk maybe a few minutes, 10, maybe 15 minutes at most. I just have 3 points that I kind of want to touch on that is meant to be something that I think is encouraging and uplifting and hopefully helpful to those of you who are out there who want to, you're a musician and you want to learn how to start making music. So really, this is directed towards people who are already musicians. So if you've never picked up an instrument and you're a total beginner and you're like, oh, I think I need guitar lessons or I need piano lessons, drum lessons, I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm not that guy. At least not yet. Maybe one day I'll start teaching some of that stuff, but I feel like I actually feel like I'm in need of guitar lessons, and I've been playing for almost 10 years now. Been playing bass for about 14, almost 15 years. So, but there's always room for improvement. But anyway, so assuming you already play, this is kind of directed towards those who already play and are interested in learning how to not just play an instrument and play with other people, but like learning how to actually record your music. And so if you kind of find yourself in that camp, what I want to say is, well, actually, I have a couple questions first. The first question is, what is it that you find to be your biggest dream or your biggest desire that you've had surrounding recording music and like wanting to become some kind of music producer who has the ability to record your own material, your own original material? What's your biggest dream, your biggest desire that you've had that you envision yourself getting to about this topic, you know what I mean, about that idea? And then the second is pretty closely related to it, because you're obviously not there yet, right? So the second thing is, what's been your biggest frustration, or the biggest hurdle, or the biggest obstacle or set of obstacles, or the thing that's made you frustrated along that journey? So those are my two questions that I want to know. And you can, just leave a comment, and I'll definitely go back and read these later, if not now. And so I just want to know, like what's your biggest dream and desire related to recording music and being your own music producer? And secondly, what's been your biggest frustration, or the biggest thing that's been getting in the way of that dream, that desire? And I want to know that because I want to know what it is that I can do to help you. So a little bit about me, if you don't know me, but if you're here, you probably do, but I'll just give you a little bit of extra because you probably don't know the whole backstory. Like I said, I've been playing guitar for almost 10 years. Didn't pick it up till I was about 18 years old, but I picked up bass when I was about 13 years old. My older brother, I have one older brother, that's it. He just turned 30 this past year, and I'm 27. He decided to pick up the guitar and start playing. First it was piano, didn't like it, so he quit. Then he went to guitar, started taking lessons. And maybe something that my older brother doesn't realize, because I probably haven't said it enough, is I look up to him. And especially at that time, I really kind of took after his lead and sort of followed his cues on a lot of things. And I decided to be a copycat, but not be a copycat. So instead of picking up the guitar to play, I picked up the bass because it was similar, but different enough to still look like I was doing something original. And what ended up happening was my parents went out and bought me one of those like starter packs. It was a Squier P bass, my first ever bass. Still have it. Actually, my good buddy Nick Schrader, I let him borrow it, and he's hanging on to it for me, and it's in good hands. I trust him 100%. And I picked up that bass, and I took one lesson, same guitar teacher that my brother had. Took one lesson, and then I played it for maybe a week or two, and then I put that thing down, set it in the corner, and started collecting dust. And then Nate, my brother Nate, started getting on my case, and he was like, "Man, what are you doing? Like, Mom and Dad spent all that money for you to have that thing. Now it's just sitting in the corner picking up dust." Like, he was really just kind of looking out for them, which I thought was really cool. But anyway, so I was still not super interested in it naturally. But fast forward to the end of 7th grade. It was the last day of school. I still remember this. Like, it's a flashbulb memory, basically. We all kind of have those in our lives where a certain event just happens, and for whatever reason, it just sticks in your head for a long, long time. Like, I'll probably remember this the rest of my life. My good friend Nick, aforementioned, decides to come over to my house last day of school. School's out for summer. He's a guitar player, brings his guitar and his little practice amp. And I had my bass and my little practice amp that came with the starter pack. And he shows me a chord progression of a song. It was a simple worship song. Had 3 chords. It was like G, C, and D, right? Okay. Super classic and cliche for worship songs. And then he shows me on the bass, like, "Hey, I'm playing this. These are the corresponding notes for you to play on the bass so that you can play with me. So I play G, and then you hit this note. And then when I switch to C, you hit this one," and so on and so forth. And then after I got a little bit of rhythm going, we started playing, me and him. We were jamming. And that was the first time I ever jammed with somebody. And it's like instantly, it just clicked. I was like, wow, that was magical. And I want that to happen again and again and again and again for as long as I live. And that's when I basically fell in love with music and decided that this is the craft that I want to pursue for the rest of my life. Whether it becomes my full-time job, whether I get into the quote-unquote industry or not, it's something that's always going to have a place in my life. So that's where I came from. And then, just kind of, skipping ahead, I little by little just started learning more. Like I said, I picked up guitar, and then I got a computer and got some recording software, and I just kind of started winging it because I got curious. Like, it wasn't enough for me to just be playing. I wanted to also like learn how to record what I was doing, even if it sucked, even if it sounded bad. And you know, there were many discouraging times when I felt like I needed it to sound better than what it was sounding in order for me to feel like I had the heart to continue with it. But it takes time. And you know, I did what any of us do when we want to learn how to do something. You go to YouTube and you just Google the hell out of everything and go on YouTube and type it in and see what comes up. And you know, back in those days, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it wasn't that long ago, but there was a good amount of content out there. But nowadays, there is just like a sea of content. And so that kind of brings me to where I'm at today. I do know how to produce now. I would say that I'm fluent in 2 major recording software programs. I use Ableton Live. I use Logic Pro, which is like exclusively on Mac. And yeah, I mean, I've just learned a lot through experience, trial and error, through my own kind of experimenting, just doing stuff with friends, getting together and kind of working on their stuff, and just very DIY, grassroots kind of stuff. And up to this point, you know, I never really had the desire to like be a recording artist in the sense that like I wanted to get out in front of people, because I'm an introvert. Like I'm not thrilled with the idea of being in front of a ginormous audience of people, at least as the front person, you know what I'm saying? So I was always okay to be a bass player who was backing up the band, because that bass is the barrier that exists between me and the people. So it like makes me feel like I'm safe, right? So, you know, I did, and I had a lot of experience like playing in church, playing in smaller settings and in some larger settings. I played at some conferences where there were hundreds of people. A friend invited me once to come play at his church. That was like 2,000 people. So I've been in settings where I played for big audiences, and I've been in settings where it was small audiences, and I've been just working by myself, and mostly just doing kind of instrumental stuff, because that's what I know how to do, and arranging my own songs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm no real singer. So that's where I come from, before I just kind of drone on and on about myself. So again, if you're just joining, I had 2 questions that I wanted to pose to you guys if you're interested. If you're a musician, you play an instrument, or I guess, you know, even if you sing, singers are musicians, and you want to learn how to record your own material, and you want to learn, you don't know how that works, and you want to learn how to make that work, then the 2 questions I have for you are, what's your biggest dream or desire related to music production and recording? And what's been your biggest frustration or the biggest obstacle that has kept you from getting where you want to be? I want to know that, because I want to come be here for you and teach you and like talk about stuff that's relevant to those things. So you can let me know what you think about that. If you have, you know, just leave a comment or whatever it is that you want to do. I will get it. So I just have 3 quick points I want to share with you. I'm kind of just talking off the cuff, and I'm not even the best at that, honestly. Speaking extemporaneously. Speech class in high school was not my strong suit. Dreaded that class for sure. So the first thing I want to tell you is that it's never ever been easier to record your own music and produce it than it is today, like right now. This is something you can do for hundreds of dollars. And if that sounds like a lot of money to you, it's just because you probably haven't done a lot of research in this niche yet. And that's okay. But studio time is expensive. So if you want to go play at a pro studio, if you just know how to play an instrument and you're like, look, I need help. I need professional recording engineers and I need professional producers to help me put my song together. let me just go to a studio and I'll take them my most basic 4-chord progression idea, and then they're going to help me bring it to the finish line as like a real song. That's expensive. That does not come cheap. The bill for that is going to start racking up into the thousands in no time. And that's because those facilities, I mean, they got to pay to keep the lights on, right? And all that equipment that they have ain't cheap. So rather than paying thousands of dollars for that, and even if you wanted to learn on your own, like how to work the stuff they have, you're going to spend thousands of dollars just to get the same equipment, right? Well, all you need is basically, in today's world, to get started with like your basic home studio setup, you're going to need your computer, of course. So I'm presupposing that you have a computer. And then you're going to need an audio interface, which is basically a device that hooks up to your computer. And there's plenty of them nowadays that are cheap and hook up with USB. It plugs into your computer USB. And then that interface is what gives you the ability to plug a microphone or an instrument like a guitar or a bass, whatever, into that so that it can convert those signals into something your computer can understand. And then your computer and your microphone, your guitar, they can talk back and forth, basically, is what's happening. So you're going to need one of those. You'll need a good pair of headphones. And we're not talking like the consumer headphones like Beats by Dr. Dre. Those are made to sound a certain way to enhance listening experience when you're listening to commercial tracks, right? You want something that's like pro audio headphones that are basically made to sound more flat and not exciting, essentially. They're made to be very transparent and honest sounding, I guess, for lack of a better term. They're made to just reflect back to you what you're putting into it, basically. And that's what you want. A decent pair of headphones might run you $70, $80. For example, I have these. These are Sony's. I think they're the MDR 7506. I got these on Amazon for like $70, I think. An audio interface. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but 100 something bucks, $120 maybe, for a decent starter one. You're going to want a microphone, I would say. And I mean, if you're going to do instrumental, only instrumental, and you have a guitar, if you have an acoustic guitar, you're going to need a microphone, okay? I'll say that. But if you're an electric guitar player and you don't ever plan on recording any vocals, you actually don't even need a mic. You can do... hey, my wife just joined. You don't need... if you're just an electric guitar player and you don't ever want to record vocals, you don't even need a microphone, because there's software that can act like direct simulation for amps and stuff like that. So I can go into depth on that like as the day is long, so I'm not going to do that right now. But the purpose of having a microphone is so you can record your vocals, or if you are an acoustic guitar player, you want to be able to record your acoustic guitar. Because newsflash, when you play live and you plug in your acoustic to the PA, that sounds fine for like just live playing. But if you're recording in the studio, no one ever, like when you hear an acoustic guitar, I don't know if you realize this, but the microphone, the pickup that's inside the acoustic guitar is actually like where the sound hole is, it's on the inside of the body. And I don't know about you, but I've never seen anyone listen to an acoustic guitar player by like ducking below and like moving their ear right up against the sound hole and in it. Like, that's just unnatural. That's not how acoustic guitar is meant to sound. So when you plug that into your interface and then you hit record, it's going to sound like crap, honestly. It's going to sound terrible. So the purpose of having a microphone is because it's a much more accurate representation of what the acoustic guitar is going to actually sound like. So anyway, needless to say, a microphone, an interface, a computer, assuming you've already got that, a pro audio pair of headphones, and then some kind of recording software. If you have a Mac, I'm pretty sure all Macs still come with GarageBand, like standard free software. just like iMovies, like the standard free like video editing software. GarageBand is that for audio. And if you're on, there are free DAWs out there too. A DAW, that's DAW, that stands for Digital Audio Workstation. I just threw that term in there, like taking for granted that you know what that is. But let me clarify that for you. A digital audio workstation is a place where you record audio and produce audio and mix it down into a final product. GarageBand is Apple's free version of that. I'm sure there's a free counterpart on Windows. I don't do Windows. I don't do PC, so I'm not up to speed on that as of right now. But I do think that there are some free DAWs out there. And that's what you need to get started. So it's never been a better time to get started because the cost is so attainable. You've got time on your hands, right? And it's in times like these when you seriously, you've got time on your hands. So this is a good time to start learning. So that's the first point I want to make to you, is that now is the best and the easiest time it's ever been to start recording your own music. And the second thing that I want to share with you, I'm trying to encourage you guys, you don't have to be like a nerd. Like if you're thinking a music producer or maybe an audio engineer, if you're thinking like there's a certain kind of personality style that is, like sort of like a nerdy type person, a really techie kind of oriented person, or an audiophile, or somebody that knows that kind of stuff like really, really well, or oh, they went to school for it, they're trained. Nonsense. You don't have to be this type of person to do this, because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is just not perfection. The goal is to get your ideas recorded and documented, and then after you, of course there's a learning process. Of course you have to learn tools. Any like art form of any kind has tools involved. So even like a painter, you might think, oh, that's a creative thing. Like, how is that technical? Oh, it's very technical. You have to learn like what, and I'm not a painter, so I'm just, just making this up as I go. But, you got to learn like what brushes to use, or like what colors when mixed with other colors, like primary colors, give you your secondary colors, and learning all these various shades, and like, or even like just something as simple as what brand of paint, learning what your preferences are and how those paints end up translating onto different particular canvases, whatever that might be. So that comes into play too with music. Like eventually you need to know like what an EQ is, what a compressor is. Like these are like the so-called power tools of this trade. And I just want to encourage you, they're not that hard. They're not that daunting to learn. So these are things that as time goes on, you start to practice and you start to get a better grip on how it works. But you don't have to actually have like a lot of like pre-knowledge. When I started, I didn't know anything. I mean, I knew what a good song sounded like because I listened to a lot of music. And really that's the key, is you need to at least have some kind of standard that you are like not measuring yourself against. This isn't a comparison game, but at least knowing what a good song sounds like, what a good record sounds like. That's how you end up developing your taste. And when you do start to write your own songs, eventually those things will start to influence, how your songs are put together, and that's a good thing. So learning that that is what's going to start to give you reference points to see if you're improving. Like that's your measuring stick, as well as listening to the things that you first made when you get started, compared to, after you've been doing it a year, 2 years, 3 years. I'm now like 6 years into this, which is still not even that a huge amount of time. But I listened to stuff that I made, like my first 1, 2, 3 songs that I've recorded and finished. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'm still proud of it because you have to start somewhere. But I will say that it sounds nothing like what I'm capable of producing today. And that's just natural. That's just natural progression. You work on it, and then you start getting somewhere. But I just want to encourage you that don't like prejudge yourself and think, basically, you know, like, I'm not a technically oriented person. I don't have those skills. I'm blah, blah, blah. You're already disqualifying yourself. So my encouragement there is, don't disqualify yourself, prejudge yourself, and eliminate yourself from being someone who can produce your own music right from the get-go. Because if you are thinking that way, then you've already lost. So, and then the last thing that I wanted to share, and this is just from my personal experience, but I think that it's a broader truth that's in it. The hardest part about all this, like music producing, recording, is getting started and breaking the static friction. That is, you're not in motion, there's no movement, to then getting to a place where there's a little bit of movement happening. And, or even like me coming to you and doing this, I sat here for probably, you don't know this because you only see when the video goes live. I sat here for probably almost 30 minutes before I hit that start button, because it's just, the hardest part is always getting started. But now that I'm in the middle of it, I'm kind of moving. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm maybe not the best extemporaneous speaker, but it's not the point. The point here is that once you break that static friction, like, you're already winning the battle. And then the bonus sort of tip or add-on to this is, starting is good. Breaking the static friction is really good. The best part is finishing. So no matter what it is that you're working on, you got to finish what you're doing. That's what gets you better, is finishing. So, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody. I have been working on some song demos that I wrote. I first created them 5 years ago. It's been 5 years. They're not finished. It's crazy. I don't even know how that happens, but I think it's fair to say that had I finished those and committed to getting through them, I probably would be better now than I was then. Well, I am better than I was then, but I mean, I'd probably be better now than I am now. And I have been kind of looping around and trying to finish them, knowing what I know now, basically. But I just want to give that as like advice to you, or encouragement. You don't have to do what I did and start something and then just leave it be and then move on to the next thing, because you're always constantly distracted by, like, you know, whatever the next shiny object is to chase. When you start something, like, see it through, finish it. And it doesn't have to be great. Actually, give yourself permission for it to suck. That's okay. It's okay if it's not good at all. I definitely have some things I made that I don't like. Even some recent things, when I consider myself to be better at this. So, you know, that's just kind of those three things I wanted to share with you. Is it's never been easier to get started doing this. You don't have to be a certain kind of person or a certain kind of personality style or certain kind of technical inclinations to do this. These skills can be learned and acquired. It just takes effort, takes time, it takes energy, dedication. Like many different things out there, you know, it can be learned. It's not a dark art that only a select few are going to be able to learn and get a hold of. At least for you to operate on like a proficient level, to where you can make something, show it to your friends and family, even if it's just your audience, and have them go, wow, you made that all by yourself? Yeah, that's possible. And then the last thing was, the hardest part about all of this is breaking the static friction and getting started. And finishing something is even better than starting, but you have to at least start. And I'm preaching to myself as much as I am to you when I say that. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's encouraging. Like I said, that was my aim, is to encourage you guys. And then the other thing that I wanted to get out of this is, please go ahead and leave a comment for me. I have 2 questions for you if you're wanting to get started recording, producing. I've been using this time to like make more videos, and I've been releasing them on my YouTube channel on South Shore Audio. Look that up on YouTube if you're curious. But here's the thing, I'll be honest with you. I'm coming up with topics of things that I think would be helpful for people. Things that I would have liked to have known and would have helped me, and now I know how to do it, and I just want to share that and teach other people how to do it. But the thing is, I don't know where all of you are in your journey. You might just be a bare beginner, and I've kind of been talking to you guys tonight as assuming that you're coming from a certain beginning place. But maybe some of you are further along than that, and maybe some of you are like, I already have an interface, I already have some stuff, and I just need help on like, give me some recording techniques, like, because I've got recordings, they just don't sound great. Okay, drop a comment and let me know that that's your situation. So, I just want to know, tell me what it is. Like, is it, do you need help, like, getting started, like, right from the beginning? Like, you need a list. Like, give me a shopping list. Like, these are the things, I don't have anything. What do I need to get started? If that's you, let me know. Or if you're in a place where you have stuff, and you're like, well, I have recordings, but they don't sound good. Let me know. Let me know what you're struggling with specifically. Is it a certain instrument? Is it, I don't know how to operate a DAW? Is it like, I don't know which DAW to get? Again, that's Digital Audio Workstation. I don't know which recording software, we'll call it that. I don't know which recording software I should get. If that's you, let me know. I'd like to offer you some help, some advice there. Maybe you have finished a song or two, and you've been able to like successfully record the song and all the parts in it front to back, but the final result didn't sound great because you don't know how to balance those recordings and then like make it sound like a polished, finished record. That's called mixing. So maybe you don't know how to do that. That's a whole nother art form in and of itself, right? So that's the beauty of producing, is you learn. This is like the whole 360 degrees. Like, it's the 30,000 foot view, and it's in the weeds. And that's what I saw that my buddy Jeremy just liked the video. I'll reference him for a second. My good friend, my dear friend, my mentor, one of my groomsmen in my wedding, Jeremy. He's been producing for a long time. And what I love about him is he's able to do a lot of different things as a producer. He knows he can think on the micro level and get into the weeds on one tiny little sound effect type thing that you as a listener, you maybe hear it for a second. And some people may not even notice it. But for the people who are paying attention, you'll catch it. And you don't know that he spent 2 hours getting that just right. And he is able to do stuff like that all the way up to thinking like with a broad, big picture perspective, as far as like, I want this song to communicate a certain message and impart a certain feeling on the listener. And that's like broad, big picture perspective. So I realize I'm talking with my hands a lot. Sometimes I can be one of those people. But yeah, so it's going to take some hard work. It's going to take some dedication. It's going to take you spending some time on this rather than just watching Netflix all the time. But I'm assuming that you've got a drive and you've got a desire for this. And so if that is you, then I just want to tell you that I'm making myself available to start offering you some helpful tips, some helpful information. So that's basically all I had for you tonight. Like I said, I didn't really have a lot prepared. I had a couple questions that I asked you, and I had, just about like 3 points to try to encourage you if you find yourself in this camp. So let me know. Like I said, drop a comment or send me a direct message on Facebook if you're an Instagram person, my Instagram is at South Shore Audio, I believe. Yeah, it should be. Send me a direct message on Instagram. I don't care. Or send me an email, like whatever it is, southshoreaudio@gmail.com. Send me an email, send me a direct message, leave a comment, whatever medium you want. I don't care. I just want to hear from you because I want to make sure that I am spending my time creating stuff that actually helps you rather than just preaching to nobody, essentially. Making content, making videos in a vacuum doesn't really help anybody. So I want to make sure that what I'm doing is actually speaking to real people. So thank you guys. I appreciate you taking some time to hang out with me. I know I said I was going to do this for like 15 minutes. It's probably been like half an hour. So that's what happens when you get a 5 on the Enneagram started on a subject that they like talking about. They just jump into like a big monologue. So that's definitely me. So okay guys, I hope you guys have a good evening, and I will be replaying this on not replaying, but I'll be uploading this on YouTube as well, so you can catch me there. So I will talk to you guys later. Well, actually, let me give you guys 1 second. If you have any questions, you want to leave a comment right now, I'm going to give you a chance to do that before I sign off, because I don't want to leave here if someone has a question about, well, let me just ask the question again, give you some time to think about it. What's your biggest dream or desire related to recording music and being a music producer? And then what has been your biggest frustration, your biggest roadblock that has kept you from getting to that point and achieving that? That can be a conversation starter. And then if there's anything specific about, I guess the roadblock one is kind of the big one that I would really like to know about, so that I can help you more specifically. So just give you guys another second here, and otherwise I will sign off for the evening. So all right. Well, anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out. I think there was about 4 or 5 of you, and I appreciate it. I didn't really announce this or anything. I just kind of did it, popped up randomly. But I will be back probably sometime later this week. I'll hop on here again, and maybe you guys can hang out with me. I'll probably post about it on Facebook, give you guys a heads up. So it's not just going to be kind of randomly out of the blue. So. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys have a great night, and thanks for taking a few minutes to hang out with me. Talk to you soon. Next time.